Hello and welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Colin, also known as the Battle Room. Today I'm going to be breaking down a tier list right before the Crown Tundra drops. Crown Tundra is tomorrow, so we're going to look at this tier list of new and returning Pokemon. And we're just going to break it down, look at some of the Pokemon, see how strong they are, and yeah, I'm very excited for the Crown Tundra. I want to make this so that I can have a, I can look back and kind of laugh at it if it's garbage, but also just like be able to say I told you so if a mon's really broken. But yeah, let's get into it. Let's just hop right in. Absol, let's start off with a solid D tier mon. Pretty trash Pokemon. Nothing really redeeming about it. It does get taunt though, so that's that. Aerodactyl, I actually think is a solid B tier. Aerodactyl has Tailwind, and Tailwind is really strong, especially in regards to the new speed mechanic change we got in Sword and Shield. So I think Aerodactyl could see some usage. It does kind of suck versus stuff like Whimsicott or Talonflame, but manual Tailwind is still good, especially because it does have great synergy with Focus Sash. Rock Slide's a good move, Tailwind's a good move. I think it's got decent utility, and we could see, your Aerodactyl could be pretty niche, but it's definitely like very, very usable. I might have to move him down later, depending on how good he actually gets, but how fat the B tier is. But for now, we'll leave him in B tier. Aggron, D tier. I don't know what you want me to tell you. I got nothing on Aggron. Altaria, D. I'm not seeing much use for it either. Being dragon flying, competing against stuff like Salamence, Dragonite. While they may not be the most broken Pokemon, I do think that it's very hard to compete versus them. Kind of bad. This ability is garbage. Its ability is just so bad, so I don't think we'll see much of it. Armaldo, man, we're just filling in the D tier nice and early here. Yikes. Okay, Armaldo, yeah, he's got System, but like it does have the potential issues that Dreadnought does, where if you do max Rockfall, you ruin your Swift Swim. So like, I think it stays in D tier. So I had to make a new row for no info, because we don't know anything about the Galarian Birds as of yet, or the two new Reggies. So we have no clue. They could be really broken, they could be really garbage. I kind of think they could be like more in the middle, but we have no clue, so we'll just go in Articuno. I mean, Articuno's got good base sets. That's what makes me put it in C as opposed to D. But it's an ice type. Ice typing is always kind of useful, but man, I don't know about this thing. I even think it could be D tier, to be honest. I think it could be D tier. I'm gonna leave it C. Audino, I think is C tier as well. It gets Trick Room and it's a normal type. It could be supportive. Like, I actually think it's somewhat viable, like somewhat usable. You have to find the really niche team for it, but I do think it has a place as opposed to some of the other D tier picks at the moment. But, it's not the greatest mon. Definitely probably about Articuno's strength. Aurorus, I gotta put in D as well. It's a fossil ice type, Ice Rock. It's just so weak. So easy to smack around. Not a huge fan. Azelf is a solid C, I think. Azelf could be... It's really hard. Some of the legends are really hard to judge because you end up just like, they're just like okay, but they're always just outclassed by other things. Azelf does have an interesting niche because it's really fast and really strong. So I think it's a little bit different in that regard. Like, it does have a solid niche as opposed to some of the other legends. Again, I think it's probably a C tier pick. It's not the most useful. Like, Max Mindstorm, it does have Levitate, so it has a little bit of anti-synergy there. It's not even a good like max sweeper. So I think Azelf probably belongs in C tier. It's not the most useful one. Blacephalon. Whew. See, I think it's a solid C tier mon. I feel good about putting it in C. Like, it's not bad, certainly. Like, I think C tier is like the not bad tier, like where you can use it. Whereas the ones below that, like, they're quite unusable. Outside of like really, really specific niches. But I do think that like Blacephalon is like somewhat okay. Like, it's a fast sweeper, it's Ghost and Fire. Fast max Ghost is pretty good, but like Dragon Bolt's gonna eat it alive. So it's a C tier pick. Blaziken, I think it's a C tier as well. Speed Boost is pretty useful, and like you could maybe max it and it could be like okay, but I do think it's gonna crumble to potentially anything with max Airstream and Intimidate. So it did lose Hidden Power, which is one of its niches, and even if it had it, it wouldn't be able to kill Landorus anyway. So I'm not very hopeful for Blaziken, but it's definitely better than the D tier kind of mons. Buzzwole could see some action. We've seen it place top 4 at Worlds before. It's definitely not a bad mon. I don't know how I feel about Buzzwole. I think it's a B tier. It's definitely as good as Aerodactyl. I think being a fighting type sucks most of the time, and being 4 times weak to max Airstream sucks. But, maybe there's a niche. It probably is actually C tier, though. I'm going to actually move it down to C tier. Sadly, I think it's a little weaker. Carbink, solid D tier. The thing about Carbink, though, is it works with Chansey. Chansey, Shuckle, Carbink, Cheese has always been a thing. Sturdy is pretty nuts. Sturdy Mental Herb is really strong for setting up Trick Room. It does have that stupid niche, unfortunately. Cardacosta, let's just drop it in the trash can. Alright, now we got a good Pokemon. Celestia. I think Celestia is a solid A tier. I think it's an A tier pick. Celi got better. It gets access to Cosmic Power, which is very cool. It also does benefit from playing around max moves. I think Landorus is going to be a pretty solid mon, obviously. Like, it's Landorus. I wouldn't say he's S tier, but definitely A. And Landorus is going to be pretty nuts. And the ability to set up max boost for Celesteela sounds really disgusting. Like setting up special defense boost or steel spikes, like, you know, you pair it with, you know, Kartana or Landorus. Kartana Celesteela is not the greatest, but you get my point, right? You pair it with the max steel spike, the max quake, and this thing becomes impossible to kill. It's spamming cosmic powers, setting up bleach seeds. I think Celesteela has a really good shot at replacing Iron Defense Pharaoh and just being a really good Pokemon. It also walls Kartana, can probably 2 KO. We know it can 2 KO with Flamethrower. I think Celesteela is a really solid mon, and I'm kind of excited to see what it's going to do, but also really, really horrified. Cradily, it is Storm Drain. That's it. See you later. See, this is hard. This is what makes me kind of want to shift like Aerodactyl down a little bit, because I think Cresselia is a solid B tier mon, but I think it might be better than Aerodactyl, but putting it in the same tier as Aerodactyl hurts my soul, straight up. Like, Cresselia and Aerodactyl being the same tier, disgusting. I do think Cresselia might have some more strength than I'm giving it credit for, but right now I'm not very hopeful for it. Dragapult is going to be amazing. Icy Wind is not as good. It has to be kind of a Trick Room bot, and it does its job well, but man, I worry for it. I worry for Cresselia. Yikes. I don't know what to do. I don't know. It's really hard to put Cresselia there. But I think it's around that strength level. Like, it's going to be really good at setting up Trick Room, and you're going to have to run maybe a defensive berry, or you'll just have to like run max defense or something crazy. And like, I don't know. It doesn't seem horrible. That's the thing. But because it still pairs well with a lot of the Pokemon. That's the thing about Cresselia. It pairs really well with stuff like Heatran, stuff like what is it, Landorus. Like, it does pair well with things, but man, I don't know. I think it's a B tier. Crobat, I'm gonna put you in C, buddy. Well, I think the thing about Crobat is like, so what Aerodactyl provides over Crobat is like, you actually, they're really close, honestly. Because if they both have Tailwind, they're really close in terms of their utility. They both can run Taunt. It's just that Crobat can't. Super Fang isn't that good anymore, and that used to be Crobat's big niche. But it does get Inner Focus. Do I actually have to move Crobat up to B? I think I do. I think it's a B mon. I think it's B tier. I think it's B tier. Cresselia is definitely not A though. I think that's right. It does add a lot of utility. It has Inner Focus. I think it's a good mon, honestly. Like, it's pretty solid. Inner Focus got buffed, so it can't be intimidated. Brave Bird's actually going to hit hard. Crobat could be okay. It could be okay if it gets Tailwind. No, that's a D tier. Get out of your Cryogonal. You're bad. It doesn't really do anything. It was good in singles with Moody, but they nerfed it, so I don't. It's not relevant here. Dragonite, I think, is a solid B tier mon as well. I'm curious to see how good Dragonite will actually be. There's a lot of hype around it pre-DLC. But I don't know. I don't know how I feel about it. It seems okay. It seems like an okay mon. You could do some cool weakness policy stuff. Multi-skill is an amazing ability, really cool. It does get access to max Airstream as well, so that's really good for Dragonite. So I don't know. I think it's a pretty solid mon overall. Electivire, he's really cool, but he's really bad. Entei, I think I'm gonna start organizing B a little bit. I think Entei's actually kind of good. Okay, Entei's like my sleeper pick. I am hyped about this Pokemon. It gets Sacred Fire, right? That's awesome. It burns shit. That's useful. Inner Focus. Boom. Can't be intimidated. What the hell? Hidden ability, right? Inner Focus. Can't be intimidated. Can't be faked out. Boom. Helping Hand. This Pokemon gets all the new moves. I think it's really cool. I'm actually a really big fan of Entei. I think it's a sick mon, sick design. So I'm excited to see if Entei can hang with the big boys. I think it can. I personally think it can. We'll have to see. It also helps with Kartana, which is a big deal. I think Kartana is going to be a very important Pokemon to have to hang out with, so and deal. So I think it can be pretty useful. Garchomp, I think it's top of B. It's actually pretty useful, but it's going to be outclassed by Landorus, I think? But I'm unsure. I think this is the one time that maybe Landorus is weak enough that Garchomp could be a decent Pokemon. Max Wormwind is great. Max Quake is great. It has access to really good max moves, but it just doesn't have that Intimidate ability, but it's a little faster, so I think maybe Garchomp could be good. Guzzler D, get him out of here. Heatran, ooh, this Pokemon is flames. Absolutely flames. A tier Pokemon, maybe even S, I think. Heatran is really good Pokemon. I think it gets really quite potent with Max. You just have to navigate the Max Quakes, but that's pretty easy. It didn't really get a new good hidden ability. Flame Buddy's cheese, but you know, you probably want to stick with Flash Fire, especially for Heatran mirrors. Great Max moves though. Max Steel Spike, boom, raise your defense, and it's actually doing big damage. Because Heatran's issue in the past was like, Flash Cannon didn't do the most damage, so it was kind of like this defensive pivot. Like, it was just kind of annoying more than anything. But now, Flash Cannon wasn't really a pick on Heatran before. It was mainly Earth Power, Heat Wave, Sub Protect. But now Sub isn't as good. Flash Cannon got much better with Max Steel Spike. If you actually Steel Spike with this thing, pretty nuts. Boom, Max Quake. You get both boosts? Are you kidding me? That sounds really good. And also Heat Wave, you know, for stab or whatever fire move you want to run. It doesn't have to be Heat Wave. But, you know, Max Flare is a big deal too. I think it's a pretty potent Max Mon, and that's one of the big things so far is like a lot of the Pokemon we've mentioned aren't really great Max Mons outside of like Garchomp. These four right here are really quite good. But everything else I think isn't that great. I really think it's these four at the moment of the tier list. So I think like Heatran is a good Max Mon, and that's important. That's really important. Jinx, we'd have to talk about that. Kabutops, you know, I think it has the same issue, right? Like I mentioned with Armaldo and Dreadnought, like it has Swift Swim, which is really good. And like, hey, if it didn't set up the Sandstorm and ruin everything your strategy's going for, like it might be okay. But sadly, I think it's still D. All right, the queen has returned. Kartana, the paper cut Pokemon. I think it's solid A tier. Really good Pokemon. I don't think it's S. I think it is really, really good though. It might be S. It might move up there for me. Oh, man, but I'm legit unsure. I really don't know. I think it is really, really good though. Cause like the thing about Card is it gets all of the max moves are good. Max Grass, boom. You can change terrain and also set up your own, which is gonna be great in these terrain wars. Max Flying, like come on, that's useful. Max Fighting, you can raise your own attack, and Max Steel, raise your defense. So it's like it seems really, really good. I feel like it could be as. But also, you can just intimidate it, hit it with fire moves. It does have some counterplay, but if it gets snowballing, Kartana is absolutely insane. The Ultra Beasts are just crazy, so I think it's pretty good. Ooh, baby. This bad boy is back. I think Lando is back. Man, I was all hyped for a sec, but I think he's actually B tier. He does. Okay, I think I'm going to move him below. Yeah, he's about there. The thing about Lando is it did get access to Sheer Force again with the hidden ability capsule, the ability patch. So it does have the ability to get Sheer Force Life Orb, which is pretty nutty, but it did lose hidden power, so it lost some of its counterplay to enemy Landorses. So he got buffed, but he's also he lost his best way to kill Landorus, and that was one of its best traits, was the ability to kill Landorus. But it still gets access to Max Quake, but sadly it's always caught in the crossfire of our next Pokemon, Landorus Therian. Landorus Therian is the stuff of nightmares. Good lord. This thing is insane. This Pokemon's crazy. I want to put it in S, because think about the buffs we get. We get Max Flying, which is really good for Landorus, really great. Max Quake, really useful. You know, it gets Rock Slide, you can change the weather, it's still useful, hit the flying types. And then you still have access to U-Turn. You can run a multitude of items, Intimidate's still useful. You can just max it on the fly now if you want to like choice scarf it, and then you can just max fly, and then you have a speed boost for your other Pokemon. A guide will be released tomorrow on my channel about how to use Landorus in the Crown Tundra. I'm gonna put him in S. Round of applause for Landorus here. Our first S tier Pokemon. I think it's absolutely insane, Mon. Goddamn, this Mon's crazy. It got buffed. It did get nerfed a little bit, like with Mirror Armor. Intimidate doesn't work on all the abilities anymore, but I think it's gonna be a great Mon. Latios and Latios, I think they kind of go together. This is kind of, I think they're a little bit better than Crobat, I don't know. The Lati twins are really awkward. I think they're actually C. I'm not very hopeful for them. Max Wormwind is really cool, but once again, like, they're not proccing their own Psychic Drain. Like, Levitate and all these Psychic Pokemon really sucks now. It's a little bit of hindsight from the Game Freak there. But I do think that they're, like, somewhat decent, but if they get Tailwind, it's kind of nice, but even then, like, they're just a little bit too slow, and like Some of the Pokemon eat them up, like Dragapult, for example. Like, Dragapult will murder them. Magmortar, I'll see you later, buddy. You can just go down there. I'm gonna put Mesprit down here, I guess. It's a little bit worse than Audino, honestly. I think Audino's better. Yeah, it's not great. I mean, it's kind of like a bad clone of Cresselia, so it's okay. I don't know. I'm not a huge fan. Can we get a drum roll, please? Oh my god, Metagross. Insane Pokemon. This Mon is crazy. I'm gonna say he's S tier. I think Metagross might be one of the better Pokemon. Like, might be one of the best Pokemon to be released. I think it's better than Lando. Metagross gives us everything we wanted in a Steel type. Max Steel Spike, boom, amazing. Max Quake potentially if you want it, boom, amazing. The ability to kill Landorus, boom, amazing. And also an amazing max Pokemon. You're maxing Metagross, it's kind of nuts. Like, it's going to get Steel Spike boost after Steel Spike boost. You can't kill this thing now. Oh my god, Metagross seems really, really solid. I think it's crazy good. Maybe it's the top of A. I'm going to move him down. I think it's the top of A tier. I think it's an amazing Pokemon. Actually, I think Heatran's better than Selly. I think Cortana might be better than Heatran though. But back to Metagross, insane Pokemon. It gets tons of good max moves. I think it's gonna be, you know, it's obviously weakness policy, bulldoze cheese. It's great at it. I think Metagross is gonna be crazy good. I think we're gonna see a lot of it. It might be S tier. It's definitely top of AS. I'm gonna leave it at the top for sure as the list continues. Oh my god, this Pokemon, I'm so excited to use Metagross. He's back. He's back. I think Moltres is okay. It gets Max Airstream, which is really useful. It gets Max Flare as well. It can benefit from both its max moves. Speed stat's okay, but overall, I think like it does have that niche versus Cardano. Maybe Charizard's just better with Wildfire. That's the thing. I think Charizard might just kind of outclass it in a lot of ways. So sadly, I think Moltres sits in C. Naganadel. I gotta say it's better than Crobat, right? Dude, I hate Crobat so much. Putting these Pokemon below Crobat feels like awful. I think it's a solid B tier mod. Max Wormwood's cool, but it is Dragapult food. Max Poison's kind of neat. Like I used the Slowbro team that featured Max Ooze, and I think Max Ooze is kind of underexplored, and I think you can do some cool stuff with boosting your partners. But I don't think it's worth maxing the Naganadel. But Max Wormwood is really sick. Like, it does have some cool max synergies, like Max Ooze plus Max Wormwood is kind of cool. But I think it's, I'm going to say it's a C tier one. I'll put it at the bottom. C tier, it's C tier. Nidoking, Nidoqueen, I think they kind of go hand in hand, and I think they're both B tier. I think they're both really solid. I'll actually move them above the Tailwind guys. I think they're really good in Tailwind. I think they have good max moves. I think they're really cool. I think they're cool Pokemon. I'm a fan of them, and I'm excited to see what they can do at the end of the day. I think Nidoqueen's slightly better, but we'll see. They're cool. They're cool Pokemon. They have really good coverage. Max Quake's great. Max Ooze is pretty good. And then you have Sheer Force, Life Orb, which is really good. It doesn't work with max moves, unfortunately, so that is a little bit of a hit. But I think, you know, as standalone, just Life Orb sweepers, they are really good. I'm going to say they're B. I think they're actually probably better than Entei. Nihilego. I think Nihi is really interesting. It gets Trick Room, which is always useful. Always has been like this weird Trick Room, pseudo Trick Room Pokemon. Very hard to kill for special attackers. Its typing leaves a lot to be desired, especially in any format with Landers. It lost access to HP Ice. Sludge Bomb and Power Gem are always just good. So I really believe in this Pokemon here, and I think it will be pretty solid. Actually, I'm going to put it above my boy Entei. I'm sorry. You know what? Honestly, I think Entei's at the bottom of B, but I still think he's B. I think Nihi is really cool, really strong. It doesn't do well versus a lot of the top, but having access to poison moves and rock moves always useful. It can boost its own special defense, boost its own special attack, and it can combat fairies like Togekiss and stuff. It walls both of Togekiss stabs. So, you know, I think it's okay. It will get blown up to like any move from a physical hitter, but you know, I think it's actually an okay mon. Almost start, get out of here. We're just get out of here. Same issue as the Kabutops and Armaldo. Holy shit. Why are there so many Swift-Zoomers who want to use a rock move? I don't know why. Pheromosa is actually kind of sick. It gets coaching, so it's the fastest coaching mon in the game. I think we'll see some Dragapult Pheromosa teams. I think we really will. I think Pheromosa is a solid B tier pick. I think these guys actually are better than Lando. I think Cresselia is good there. It's probably better than Nihi. It's probably around there. It's probably around there. I think it's really niche, but it's kind of cool. It's hyper offense. Like, it's a hyper offense mon. It's what it's good at. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about it. I don't think it's going to be that great. But it definitely will be seen. You'll play against it. You'll be annoyed when you lose to, you know, hyper offense Pheromosa with coaching. But it will happen. And it's annoying. Raiku is really cool. I'm going to put it in the above Entei. I think it's actually really sick. It got access to Inner Focus with the ability patch. It gets access to Snarl, Eerie Impulse now, which is neat. It also gets access to Helping Hand and Rising Voltage. So it got a lot of good moves in this new gen. I think it is pretty decent as a support Pokemon, but I don't think it's much better than Aerodactyl or Crobat. I think it's pretty solid, just like Entei is. They got solid buffs. Oh, and Helping Hand. So I think it's just a solid mon. I like Raiku. I think it's good. Regice, I think it's a C tier pick. It's not bad, but it's not good. It's a nice type. It doesn't die. I mean, it's probably D tier, but it's a legendary. Regigigas, I think it's like at the top of C, to be honest. Even though I'm not really managing this list, but it's like a solid enough mon. It now has access to Weezing, which, you know, everyone's gonna use on the first day, but I don't think it's a very consistent strat. It's kind of troll. I think it is what it is. It's not going to be very, very potent, and it's not going to win worlds or win tournaments. But people are going to use it, and they're going to have fun with the stupid Regigigas Weezing. But I think it's a solid C tier pick, though. I think it did get better. It also gets access to Protect, which is a big deal because it can protect away some of the turns that it's slow starting. So I think it got a little bit better because of Weezing. Regirock and Registeel, I'm going to put them together. I think they both got access to Body Press. You know, Max Steel Spike plus Body Press on Registeel could be like a thing. It could be. I think they're just a little bit better than my D tier mons. Like, those mons are just kind of like, honestly, you know what? I'm going to put this thing up here. I think it's a little bit better. But, like, I think they're, those mons are just, like, unsavable. They're just not great. But all the Pokemon in C tier are, like, somewhat usable, and I think the Regis do fit that, all three of them. Relicam, once again, a Water Rock. It's just horrible typing now. Salamence, I think, is the bottom of B. I think it's worse than, it's probably better than Entei. It's probably there. It gets Intimidate now. It's actually quite useful. It apparently gets Hurricane. We'll see. So if it does actually get access to a max flying move, it could be pretty useful. Flying and Dragon, really good typings for mech moves, to be honest. Like, Dragapult always runs max Airstream. It is kind of Dragapult food, unfortunately. But, you know, it also has that synergy with Metagross as a premier Bulldoze user with it. We've seen it before in 2017. A little worse now. I don't know if you can actually pull off the same strat. There's new Pokemon. But it's Intimidate. Like, it's still useful. It's got really great speed. I don't know. It's kind of like, I can kind of see it maybe potentially being viable. Sceptile, he's over there. We know nothing about him. I'll put him there. Spiritomb, D tiered up. Stock is a solid A tier pick, I think. Stock got access to Body Press. It's a huge deal. Its defense stat is through the roof insane. If you get even a KO on it, you're getting +1. It's just going to kill everything with Body Press. This thing seems nutty with Body Press. Man, that's insane. Body Press is insane. That mon's going to be crazy. I think it has a really good shot. I think it's a little worse than Celia. I like it where it is at the bottom of A. But man, I think it's got huge potential to be very good here. Suicune, solid B tier pick. I say it's better than Pheromosa. Suicune's kind of interesting because it does get Air Slash now and Helping Hand, Tailwind. It has a lot of good supporting moves, and I think Suicune truly could be an Inner Focus, so it can't be flinched. I think Suicune has a chance here. It does combat the Landorus as well. It does well okay versus the Steels. They really don't hit it very hard like Metagross and Heatran. So like I think Suicune could be pretty nuts with Scald. I think it could be a pretty decent support Pokemon. We'll put Swampert in C. It's viable, but not the greatest. All right, here we go, baby. You know what? Let's clean out these bad guys. Tyrantrum, D tier, get out of here. Walrein, D tier, get out of here. Uxie, it's like a bad Cresselia. Like these Pokemon are just, it's a C tier, I guess. All right, we have good Pokemon left. Let's start with Tornadus Therian because it's definitely the worst Pokemon we have left. I think it's a solid C. It gets Tailwind. It's really fast, but its brother Tornadus is way better. So I think it's a solid C tier pick, not the greatest. You should just use regular Tornadus. Like it just shouldn't. It's just a bad clone at this point. It does get Regenerator, which is kind of cool, but I don't know. I'm not a huge fan. Alright, let's start with Bulu. I think Bulu is honestly a solid A tier pick right now. I think it's a little worse than everything else on the list because it does bad versus everything above it. Those are mostly steel types. They're all steel types, actually. I love steel types. But Bulu and Rillaboom compete for the same slot, but I think they do offer different things. And, like, you truly can run both either Bulu or Rillaboom, and I think that's really cool. It's the same thing, I'll mention it when I talk about Lele, but like having the option to have terrain setters that aren't just the 4 Tapus is really nice. Like sometimes you don't want to run like 3 fairy types, like so you can run, you know, Togekiss and Bulu. Like I would rather just run Togekiss Rillaboom. Like the synergy is way better there. So like it's one of those things that you can get rid of the fairy type and you won't be 4 times weak to poison and stuff of that nature. So I think Bulu actually does have a really, you know, nice niche. It is actually a pretty decent mon, and especially now it gets access to Play Rough, it gets access to Superpower, so it just got better as a Pokemon. And I think actually having access to his Fairy Stab is a big deal. I think Bulu's a solid mon, and I think we're just gonna see, you know, a lot of players. I think Rillaboom will be more popular. One of them will have to be more popular, and I think we'll gravitate more towards that one. But Bulu has viability, and I think that's really important. Like you have the ability to use Rillaboom or Bulu. That's just really nice, and it's the same thing with Indeedee. Finny, I think it's a solid A tier. I think it's, you know, it's A. It's good. I think it's a good mon. Honestly, I'll put it below Heatran. I think it's a really strong Pokemon, but it's not as good as it once was. It doesn't abuse Max as well as it would like. You have to run sort of some sort of calm mindset. I think we'll see more supportive Feenies, which is okay, but I think it's a really good mon still. It's always good at countering enemy terrains. That's always been its selling point, and I think it doesn't stop here. Terrains are going to be really, really important. I think we might see things like Steel Roller come out on like Metagross or something. I think Finny is still going to be very, very good Pokemon. Maybe more supportive and less like, you know, Choice Specs or something, but I still think pretty good. He's back, baby. Tapu Koko. This Pokemon, easiest S tier of my life. I think Tapu Koko is absolutely insane. You know what? I think I want to bump up Metagross to S, and then I think those are my 3 S tiers. I don't think we have any S tiers left. I think Tapu Koko, Metagross, Lando are all really, really good. Tapu Koko is insane. It got access to Rising Voltage, which is a huge deal. Doubles its special attack, doubles the power of the move in the electric terrain, which it's already setting up. So base 140 electric move. Oh my god. It's got a decent max. You can run it physical with Brave Bird, Wild Charge, Play Rough. You can run it special with Electro Web now. It can actually be kind of supportive. So many sets, so many viable options for this Pokemon, and that's what makes a Pokemon good, is you don't know what it's going to do to you. I think the special set still will be the king, but like you can run it physical, you can run it mixed. It's so damn good. Tapu Koko is insane. I think going to be a staple all year. I think it's the best Tapu. God damn, this thing's good. Lele, you know, it's a good Pokemon. It gets Expanding Force now, which everyone's like, oh my god, a Lele Expanding Force? That's broken. How do you deal with that? Well, you just change the terrain. I don't think Lele will be super broken. I do think late game Expanding Force sweeps are annoying, and I'll lose to them. I know it will happen. I know Lele will get me. But I do think it's not as good as the other ones. I gotta say it's probably better than Bulu. We do get a ton of Steel types back, which is really, really nice. But yeah, I do think it's a really strong Pokemon. I feel better about it than past years. Expanding Force is a really nice addition to Lele. It makes it really scary. But Lele still has the problems it always had. And now Dynamax, it is harder for Lele to actually break some of these Pokemon. Like it used to be really strong, like hit Landorus for like 80. But now it's a little bit harder because it's just going to Dynamax out on you and Max Quake, which is really, really frustrating for Lele's. I do think Dynamax, like for a Pokemon, like Lele is not a Pokemon who will max traditionally. I don't think it will max very often. It does have the ability to, but I think it won't max often, especially with the anti-synergy of the Fairy move changing the terrain. So I think it won't max, which makes the mons that do max really frustrating for it because it can't compete with their power. I do think it's pretty decent though. I think it's a good mon. Still good. I think late game Expanding Force like Specs or Scarf could be really nuts, and that will be annoying to deal with, but overall I think it's pretty manageable. But I do think it's A tier. It's still very, very good. Thunderous, oh man, I wish I could put my boy Thunderous higher. I love Thunderous, first off. I'm very biased. This list is very biased. Like it's a very old school VGC player kind of list. I love Thunderous. Thunderous is one of my favorite Pokemon of all time. I love this thing. I'm gonna put that. I'm gonna do this actually. I think Landorus is actually like worse. I'm actually gonna put him there. I think Thunderous, I love Thunderous, and like, man, I love this guy. The only issue with Thunderous here is, so Thunderwave Thunderous is pretty strong, right? Actually, Defiant Thunderous is pretty heat too. Thunderous has 2 very good sets. Defiant, you know what? I'm actually gonna move him. Yeah, he's up here. He's up here. Cresselia's better than Dragonite. I think Dragonite's actually right here. Okay, I made some big changes here, but I think Thunderous is really actually a really good Pokemon. But it depends what set you're using. I think Thunderous has some viability as a Thunder Wave setter. The only issue with the Thunder Wave set is like you have to run either Bulu or Coco because both these Pokemon, Lele and Feeny, stop Thunder Wave, priority Thunder Wave. So like it's really hard to make that kind of Thunderous work. But Defiant Thunderous seems really, really good going like looking forward. It gets access to Fly, it gets Wild Charge, like it actually has some really good offensive tools to abuse Defiant. I think it has some potential as a Defiant like Dynamax Pokemon. Like if you actually give that thing a boost, it sounds really scary. Max Airstream's coming off of a base 110. That's Nightmare Fuel. I don't like that. That's not cool. So I think it actually is a really good mon. You know, I think Garchomp actually is like here. Man, Garchomp's so good. Like, I think Garchomp's so good. It's just like if Landorus didn't exist, Garchomp would be like A tier. But Landorus exists, so I gotta move Garchomp down. He's taking a hit. I think this is, I like my B tier a lot more now. I think this is my B tier. I think Thunderous is actually top of B. He might even be A. Defiant Thunderous is, I think, that crazy good. Like, it's just such a deterrent. It's really scary. You don't know what's coming in team preview. Just a really good mon. I think it's really good. This Thunderous, I think it's like bottom B. It's not horrible. It's got really good stats, but it's not great. Tornadus, A tier. I think Tornadus is easy A. I actually think it's up here. I think it's better than stock. Tornadus is really nuts. Priority Tailwind, insane. Insane. You also have the option of Defiant. I think this Pokemon is going to see a lot of use. It's going to see a lot of use. It's just so good. Defiant and Prankster Tailwind. Like, what more could you ask? It's going to be good, mon. I'm excited to see how Tornadus does. I kind of hate Tornadus, but I'm excited. This thing's definitely B. Xurkitree got so much better. It gets access to, if it gets access to Tailgill, it will still be crazy, crazy good, which I don't see a reason it shouldn't. It's going to be crazy good. It can just set up on you, and then the max gives it enough bulk that it's actually somewhat useful, and like having the Dazzling Gleam turn into Starfall is not horrible. It gets access to Rising Voltage. I think Xurkitree is much better than it was before. I'm a big fan of Xurkitree. Zapdos is really iffy for our last Pokemon. It could be either really good or just kind of okay, because if it loses Tailwind, that would be a big hit to Zapdos, because I think Zapdos really does use Tailwind well. And also, if it does get access to Hurricane, it could just turn into this max sweeper. I still think it's going to be a solid B tier mon. Honestly, I think, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to move these 3 up. I'm going to move those 3 up. Like, our B tier was getting a little big and our A tier was a little small. So I think I like those 3 here. And I think it's ordered. As A and B are all ordered, C and D, I don't really care as much. It's not really important. I think that's the list. I like Zapdos in A. I think it is really good. Hurricane access is really nice. I think it could be a really good mon. I think that's the list. I like it. I like this list. I like it a lot. This is the list. I think overall, like, it's going to shake up the game quite a lot, but we're going to see stuff like Dragapult and Togekiss remain at the top. They're going to be still great Pokemon. There are a ton of Steel types. We've got Metagross, Heatran, Selly, Stock, Kartana. I miss Kartana. Like, we have so many more Steel types for once. We have 5 new Steel types, and I think they're all A or S tier. So Togekiss will be given a run for its money, but it'll still be a great follow me support Pokemon. It's still a flying type. Dragapult will still be a king. It does do well versus like all of my S and A tiers, and I think Dragapult's still gonna be really good. But overall, I think the additions to Crown Tundra are really, really nice, and I think, like, you know, there's some nerfs to Landorus, and there's some nerfs to Coco. Like, the game has changed a little bit. Like, Coco can't sweep you when you can Dynamax. It nerfs his damage quite a bit. But I think it'll be really interesting to see. I hope you guys enjoyed this tier list, making this tier list with me. I had a fun time doing it. I think I'm okay with this list. I'd like to revisit it in a month or two, see how the meta's shaking up, see if Landorus is actually S, see if Kartana's A, and maybe Kartana's the best Pokemon in the game. Who knows? But, you know, thank you guys so much for joining me on this journey of making this tier list. I appreciate it. I'll have a new video tomorrow breaking down Landorus in VGC, so I hope you'll watch that. But thank you guys so much for watching. Please like, subscribe, anything. I'm trying to grow as much as possible. I love you guys. Have a good day. See you later.